Yeah, it's bad times. America's in rough shape these days. It's bad. Things are bad.
We're watching. Don't worry, we're watching with interest because we're all sort of on
Yeah,
the same path. So you know.
it's every. You know what? Things are bad everywhere, and I don't like it. It's bad. But it's I don't want. I'm not gonna not to get political, but like,
Let's do it
um,
though. So the first question I had for you was,
oh yeah,
how are
yeah.
you feeling about Stephen King being ride or die for Graham Plattner?
Uh, you know, um, no, I should have expect. That is such. It's such a Stephen King thing because God bless him, the man is he's a bellwether for just like I don't know what you would call them. Not necessarily bad political opinions, but very like smooth-brained ones. Just like what is the most like kind of like the most obvious thing that like a normie would think of, and Stephen King is
Mm-hmm.
the man for it, so he's always coming out with stuff like that, and it's like sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad, sometimes they're just like incomprehensible, but for some reason every time he says it I'm just like that scans, that seems like a very Stephen King thing. um like like his politics are, as far as I can tell, they're very much like kind of like normie center left is kind of his
Mm-hmm.
thing. Like I think he was pretty much like, oh, he was very ride or die for Biden until he became ride or die for Kamala, and now I think it's in this weird state where in America, I think we've just like got to the point where everyone has not that people were sane before, but like everyone has been progressively losing their minds, and I think at this point we're at the point where it's like, yeah, no one is coming to save us. Everyone that we have like put our faith in has just completely shat the bed, and so
Mm-hmm.
now we're grasping at straws, and it's like, oh, this guy Graham Plattner, the Totenkopf guy. It's like, yeah, he's um I I can't believe that like I this is the thing is like I was like, oh, he survived the Nazi tattoo scandal, and this is the one that knocks him down. It's like so weird that this is finally what does it. And also we're in a time where it's like, okay, like literally every politician that we have here is a rapist and a pedophile. But for some reason, only some of them get in trouble for it. It's very weird. I don't know what to even think about anything.
Because I
Uh,
thought, yeah,
um,
at one point you had the QAnon thing was entirely that we're going to weed those guys out. Um,
yeah,
and it
and
turns
now
out that's all those guys.
yeah, they're all just like suddenly QAnon is just like, new phone, who dis? Yeah, is QAnon even still around? I have not heard that name in like a while. I mean, I know
No,
that I'm sure it's become something else since, because
mainstream.
none of this goes away. It just becomes some new and
Absolutely
worse
not.
thing.
Yes.
Yeah. I miss the old days when we just believed in like I don't know, aliens and lizard people. Those were fun,
Well,
but
yeah. Can we get like some forums, early 2000s forums going again, and just
yeah, bring
limit
back.
everyone to a very very small group of insane people rather than broadcast it everywhere.
That's the problem. All the crazy people are able to talk to each other now. It used to be you were in like you were siloed off, so at least
That's right. Yeah.
you couldn't go that much bonkers because you only had like five people that would agree with you. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I
yeah, we all
I
like Spawn comics. Great. Okay, well, you guys stick to
yeah,
your
yeah,
lane. That's fine, and you can have insane opinions within that sort of wheelhouse, and it's cool.
yeah. I mean, I shouldn't talk because, like every American, my brain is absolutely cooked by this point. So I mean, half the things I say, I'm sure, just like sound completely insane to anyone who's not like living in this stew.
um,
But what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
I, I think we all get sort of the contact high from you guys anyway.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah,
true. That's true.
yeah.
Well,
It
America
all
is the
filters
only
down.
real country. We're the only
That's
real
right. Yeah,
country.
that's
Our
correct. Yeah, you've got the culture.
Yeah. Our favorite thing to do is forget that New Zealand sent troops to World War II. We love to do that. Uh, that is a thing. We also like to forget that Australia and Canada were involved, but our main thing is literally like, we did it. We saved the world. It was us. Nobody else was there.
Nobody
Nobody else
else.
helped. Yeah.
What would be great now is if you could pay, 5% GDP on a sort of, very, very small income base to pay for increased defense down here. Otherwise, you can fuck off. We've forgotten all that. Anyway, so you've got a book.
Yes, I do. I do have.
Which I really loved. Like I had such a fucking blast with this. Like it was probably the most fun I've had with anything I've read this year for sure. But certainly, you've just triggered me. Do you know the work of Mark Manning?
I don't think so. What has he done?
He was Zodiac Mind Warp in the 1980s.
Oh no, actually, I'm not familiar with his work.
Okay. And you've just sort of, sent me the mental rabbit hole of like, you've sort of equating it with just how bonkers his fiction is. And probably my favorite one of his book of his is called Get Your Cock Out, which is sort
Sorry,
of it's like a Wagnerian sort of biker phantasmagoria, which I think I think Moonflow and Quaint Folk would sit very nicely on the bookshelf, and they will when I get the physical copies to sit here. But yeah, my first question was, you pull from a deep bench of Anglophilic lore and pop culture references. Like, how did that start for you? What was your interest in the folk horror and just what the Poms are doing in general?
Oh, geez. Well, thank you. Well, first off, yes, thank you for having me, and thank you for reading the book. And I'm so glad you enjoyed it. So it's a boy. It's kind of a long story. So I am a big fan of horror in general. Folk horror is a lot of fun, of course. Like, big fan of the big three folk horror movies. The three folk horror movies that exist, we all know them. Wicker Man, Blood on Satan's Claw, Witchfinder General, and right now, and folk horror is kind of having a moment now because people like to, bring up Midsummer and The Witch and all that. And I think we are living in a time where horror in general is having a moment because bad times always lead to kind of booms in horror. People like to feel bad. And I think because we are living through also, especially in America, this weird rise of kind of like a fascist tradwife movement with this obsession of the good old days, and folk horror kind of taps into a lot of those feelings. So in general, that's why folk horrors, I was kind of interested in doing a folk horror story. And for me specifically, though, I am a real crank when it comes to folk horror because, sorry, I'm going to ramble here. I apologize. So I was at Worldcon a few years ago, and I was on a panel about folk horror, and I got into an argument with my fellow panelists because I did not agree on the definition for folk horror because they were talking about folk horror, and they said, well, if you think about it, UFOs are kind of urban folklore, so therefore Nope is a folk horror movie. And I was just okay, look, at this point we are really the definition is so broad it's meaningless if we're going to start saying that Nope is a folk horror movie. And also they were going on about ghost stories are folk horror because ghosts are folklore. So, and it's look, everything is going to be folk horror at a certain point if you do this. So I made the very controversial statement that look, I think folk horror should be English. It should be British. And everything else, if it's not in Britain, it's something else. I don't know. Give it a new name. I am going to define folk horror as specifically a British thing because for me, it feels very tied to a particularly British feeling about a connection with the land. And I think it's very British in that sense, this almost guilt about leaving the pastoral land and going to live in the big city. So when I went to write a folk horror, I really wanted it to set in Britain and kind of make it a British thing. And part of all that is also because I grew up overseas. My parents were part of the U.S. State Department, so we moved around a lot. And while I was overseas, especially in Europe, if you got like anything in English, it was mostly from Britain. So most of the television I was watching was British television. And so we ended up watching a lot of things like The Magic Roundabout
Mm-hmm.
and oh my God, what is that? The one with the scarecrow, Gummel
Oh, words of
Worstel or something.
gummage.
Yeah, thank you.
Well,
I couldn't
yes.
remember his name, but like stuff like
Okay, just
that,
field
and
that
like
question. Yep.
oh yeah, yeah. I can't remember the other stuff. There was like Super
Yep.
Grand. There was like Postman Pat. There was all this stuff
Yes.
that was like
Yep.
that was just coming out of England that seemed to me like what is this? This seems like cursed media, as they say, because it was all old stuff from the 70s. It was just on
Yes.
reruns, and that was my first like exposure to English culture, and it just seemed to me like so um peculiar and I don't know if I'll get in trouble for saying for so backwards compared to like, you know, America where everything was very modern.
Yes.
But it was one of those things that I remember being up literally at 3 a.m. when I wasn't supposed to be at 3 a.m. and watching like on Cartoon Network Europe, they would just have like, okay, this is the Magic Roundabout block. We're gonna have like 5 hours of just Magic Roundabout reruns. And just I remember sitting there and just like watching this and kind of being mystified and almost like feeling like I was watching a broadcast from a different dimension. So you know, so I really wanted to tap into a lot of that when I was doing this book and kind of get that sense of wrongness that I felt like was peculiarly English, or British, I should say. As I understand, they have very particular feelings about whether you call them English or British or UK or
Yes.
whatever. I wouldn't know. I'm from America.
We know it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. As far as I'm concerned, like what I'm sorry, I'm being well, I
No,
mean,
go for
what
it. Go
I
absolutely full.
I'm being very dismissive of British culture. But that's, you know, I mean, you read the book. I was kind of
But we
doing
get sarcasm and irony too, so it's fine. It's okay.
it's a very dry wit over there. So I feel
That's
like
right.
they would appreciate it, you know.
I mean, a lot of that stuff. I mean, I grew up with those sorts of shows as well. I mean, Magic Roundabout is just basically you want to take mushrooms to that, and you know, yeah, horrifying.
I
The
feel
best
like
or
it's still
worst
made for
few
that.
hours of your life. Yeah.
Oh, it is just such a weird. I mean, it is especially just oh god, the clangers. I remember the clangers too being a thing where it's like or the trap door, the magical trap
Hmm.
door. I can't
Yes,
remember
that's
the
right.
name of
Yep.
that one. All
I
these
think it's
things
just.
where it's oh, just a trap door.
I think it's just
Oh,
trapdoor. Yeah.
oh, there you go. All this
Yep.
stuff where it's like I don't know why there's only a narrator narrating. The characters have no voices. It's just this omniscient narrator telling you everything.
Yes.
And that had this weird vibe because it just felt like kind of a you know, this big brother type aura in the sky just saying everything, and the characters in the show have no agency of their own. So it all kind of just like gave it this very strange and I don't know, like I know that like whenever I've spoken with British people, there is this kind of vibe they have of like the all-seeing eye of the queen watching them at all times or something. I think especially is very connected with like if you like very 70s kind of like British uh almost like if you've seen like Scarfolk, like a lot of
Hmm.
the Scarfolk is kind of based on that vibe. Anyway, I don't know if that answers anything. So
Absolutely. And I was going to say, and then we sort of transitioned into the 80s where things were probably as weird, and it was Margaret Thatcher doing the watching, so it was even more
hmm.
terrifying.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah.
which was sort of, I was going to, so there's a, you know, this is a lot of Enid Blyton vibes here. In terms of Helena Holloway, the characters like sort of, you know, your stand-in for Enid Blyton, and I having a child who sort of got into Enid Blyton, despise Enid Blyton, and just all of the
I
tropes. Um,
I have heard that's pretty common for like
yes,
parents of kids over there that um they're not good books,
they're not
but
good books. I mean, she also created Noddy, I think, which is something you might have encountered, which was about a little elf guy. And for a
the
long
little
time, that show had gollywogs and all sorts of like racist tropes in it. I
yeah.
find Famous Five really troubling because now you've got the added sort of transphobia element of it. You know, sort of seeping in around the edges, depending on your reading. And, she's got the fan club who says that the Secret Seven's moniker, the SS, was meant to reclaim it from the SS. Rather than
what an odd thing. I mean, just the idea that like she's like, you know what really needs to be reclaimed? The SS. Like I feel really bad that we can't say the letters SS anymore because of like the Nazi stormtroopers. So I'm going to reclaim it with this. It's such a weird idea.
I mean, quintessential kooky English woman for sure.
I mean, she is like Enid Blyton, like I just remember because like I did go to a British school for a little while as a kid, and around 5th and 6th grade, and I remember her books were like just a phenomenon. Like all the kids were like gaga for Enid Blyton, and I remember like reading a few and being kind of, because Famous Five or possibly Secret Seven, I forget which one has. Which one has George in it?
That's the Famous Five.
Famous
and
Five,
Toby and the dog. Yep.
That's it. Okay. So I remember reading a bunch of those and like just kind of being like, okay, it's like Nancy Drew or the Hardy Boys a little bit, except they go on a lot of picnics like that.
And they've got the parents are extremely dismissive, borderline abusive. The dads are absolute horror shows. Probably some of the worst patriarchs you've ever seen in literature.
Yeah, she was like, I guess you could say Enid Blyton being a product of her time, and it's just interesting how like I always found one of the things interesting about her is just like adults hate her stuff, even like back when she was popular. She was it seemed very disparaged by the Blue Noses. All the culture makers were like, this is trash, but like phenomenally popular with children, so like they couldn't stop her. And I just always found that so fascinating about her, that like the taste makers really wanted to move on, but she was like, no, this is what people, this is genuinely organically what people wanted, was gollywogs and weird like smuggler stories about these 5 preteens.
It is remarkable that she perseveres to this day. I mean, Roald Dahl got cancelled. Enid Blyton soldiers on.
She's she is so that is God, I just remember like that was really like she was a big inspiration though, because like for this book, just because she seems to me has always been kind of that very quintessential like kind of like to some degree kind of like Tolkien with the Shire. Kind of there's an idealized Britain in her work, just this kind of this quaint rural town, the village green, these images that I think probably went a long way to explaining her popularity, because they are very comforting. They're very familiar. Obviously in America, we have our own variants of that. We have, kind of this obsession with like, quaint small town, Main Street, USA. And, it's got a slightly different flavor over here, but like a lot of the, I like the over here being like, the small business owner is kind of the equivalent of like in the UK, I think they'd have like, the bootblack and the fishmonger. But the same kind of characters will generally populate these fictional places in the imagination. So yeah.
So I guess it's not probably connecting too many dots to say when Greg and the rest and his family, Sandy, Jessica, arrive, there's probably parallels with your experience of moving over there.
A little bit, like so we never lived in the UK. We visited there quite a bit, as I remember, like we were, so we go there on vacation. We had like friends who were over there, so we'd go visit people, and we'd have holidays in the UK, in Ireland, Scotland. We were in London too, and so a lot of some of the but a lot of the stuff is drawn from my own experience of moving overseas and living in various places. it's the characters in this book, honestly, what I just wrote like a whole family. It was like, what if I was every character in the family? I mean, when you write a book, you just like,
of
you always
course,
think, you put a little of yourself in every character. And I was just like, okay, well, I'm just gonna write each character in this family like that was me. Like what if I was, the mom, the dad, and the kid. And it ended up being like, yeah, this is a highly dysfunctional family. They've got major problems. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of I remember like being a kid and moving to new places, and there was always this sense of unreality of being in a new place. You kind of like take your whole life out of boxes and put it back together again. And after a while it becomes this very like uh it's a kind of a surreal experience looking back on it now, because you adjust to it so fast. You're just kind of like, yeah, I mean, it's like, it's been a year, it's time for a new school, it's time for like your, a whole new set of friends, and you're never going to see anyone that you knew last year ever again in your life. And you just like, you just kind of like roll with it. It's one of those things like as an adult, I kind of like realize like, oh yeah, that probably kind of fucked me up. It might be why I have trouble relating to people. I don't know. I mean, it's why I have issues.
Possibility. Who knows? Yeah.
Yeah. My parents tried. They tried their best, but like, look what they got saddled with.
We all do, yeah. But yeah, you just don't know what you don't know what you're cooking until you get there, I guess.
Yeah. That's the thing. I mean, that's the problem. That's the way it is. You're just like, oh, I'm sure the kids will be fine. They'll adjust because they'll be fine. And and then you're grown up and you're like, oh, it wasn't fine. Oh well. No, I'm joking. It was.
Yeah, I mean, the word resilience comes up a lot, and that's what you sort of reassure yourself with.
Yeah.
Yeah,
how
just
it
building
is.
Resilience. Sure.
Yeah. It's like you reach, you're fine. You reach middle age, and that's when you suddenly realize, like, oh shit, no, apparently I wasn't.
What the fuck is this?
Yeah, it's like that's why everyone goes into therapy at this age.
Absolutely. It's nothing to do with Magic Roundabout. No.
No. It's like, yeah. Oh my god, yeah.
All words of garbage. No.
Watching. Oh god, I got so fucked up by watching like that stuff as a kid, because it was just so upsetting, and like I remember like there's certain things. I was a real weenie, so I would watch TV shows and then like just have intrusive thoughts about them for like years. I'm trying to think of oh god, what was the this one wasn't a British one at all, but like it was a CBS Story Break with OG Readmore or something, the Red Room Riddle, which I remember seeing when I was like 8, and like it was like it's kids in a haunted house, and that fucked me up. And then Raggedy Ann and Andy, a musical adventure, which I saw when I was 10, and like sent me into a year-long depressive spiral because I couldn't deal with the weirdness of like living dolls. I don't know. Anyway,
what was it about rabbits that fucked you up then?
So it's a funny thing. I do remember being like weirdly obsessed with hairs when I was a kid. I think a big part. Oh, okay. So actually, yeah, I know what this is. So when I was about kindergarten age, my family was living in Stuttgart, Germany, in a little complex of Americans, and there were some like kind of gardens and green space around. And my dad was always telling me that he saw a hare. There was a hare, or hares, I guess, probably not the same one, but like I remember distinctly thinking there was one. There was one hare, and the way he described it, it sounded like it was gigantic. And I was convinced there was this giant hare that was somewhere in the area that like I just, never saw. And I have this very distinct memory of one time I was playing with some kids, we're playing tag or something, and I ran around a corner into like a backyard area, and there was this hare just sitting there bolt upright, stares at me. I see it. We lock eyes for like, like a second or something, but but I remember this feels way longer. And then the hare, of course, turns around and runs off. And in retrospect, of course, it's a normal sized hare, but I was like, like 5 years old.
Mhm.
So it seemed huge. And so my memory is of this, this man-sized hair that just like stared me down before kind of running off. And so that's one of those kind of flashbulb memories that I always had. And when I was writing Quaint Folk, the hair is kind of a very potent symbol in British folklore. It kind of has these connections to rebirth and fertility. And there's a lot of like reading like old medieval bestiaries where it actually does mention this idea of the hair, kind of like that hares are first born female and then turn male, and they become this weird kind of perfect combination of yin and yang of both genders. So all these like ideas, I was like, well, I really want to kind of make this story, Quaint Folk, to be like the most folk horror you can get. I want to get like every kind of like, little thing in there. I want to get some like, traditional witchcraft in there. I want to get some standing stones, and I'm going to have to get like, hair in there somehow. So that was really kind of the idea for the pagan deity of Quaint Folk. Round Robin really came from the memory of that like hair, seeing it as a kid and trying to kind of capture that feeling of just like of awe that I had being confronted with like, the biggest hair in the world when, when I was like a wee lad. But so yeah, that's kind of it. It's not like, it's not that exciting, I guess, but like made a big impression on me. I wrote a book about it.
Absolutely. And yeah, you tick off, the townsfolk, the sinister chimney sweep, the candlestick maker. Everyone's there. Everyone's just not quite right. The mayor and his wife. A lot of time for the mayor's wife, and your descriptions of her homeliness.
I figured she's got to be very, very matronly. You're gonna have to have that, because I figured like, who are the quintessential characters in a quaint British village, kind of Midwich Cuckoo style. And it's like, you have like at least, I should say everything, of course, is filtered through an outsider's perspective. I'm an American, so a lot of this is coming from like kind of like a copy of a copy of a copy. I'm watching like or thinking of a lot of like American stereotypes of British traditions, I guess you could say. And really that was kind of that was another big part of this book, because when I was channeling a lot of the feelings I had as a kid, I was always very aware I was an American in another country overseas. And the impression that I was getting of like local culture was always very skewed. It was always like, an outsider's perspective. And it would always be kind of colored by, my own prejudices being brought in. Like, what do I think? Like, like when we moved to Germany, I was like, I already kind of had an idea in my head of what Germany would be like. We moved to, and we went to the Philippines, same thing, So, so in this one, part of it was I kind of wanted to get the idea of like, this is the village is that they moved to in Quaint Folk. There is a bit of kayfabe going on. This isn't like, it's almost like it is a fictional idealization of a quaint British village, and all the characters in it are almost like actors playing roles.
I was going to say, is it fair to say that Helena Hollyoak has written it into existence almost?
Yes.
I mean, that was sort of what I came away with, that like all of those characters were sort of eternal, in the sense that, she wrote them into existence a century ago. And they
absolutely,
they abide.
Yeah, absolutely. So, that way it's like it is this very heightened reality. They're kind of stereotypical, but it is kind of by design. And which is nice, because that means that, like, if anyone is like, this is all kind of inaccurate and stereotypical, I'm like, yes, I did that on purpose. So
it's good to write your own back door. Yep.
Exactly.
Yep,
it was like, I was like, actually, I'm quite clever. You just didn't catch that I was smart. So, yeah. But yeah, that is kind of like one of the themes of the book, the idea of how perception kind of creates reality, because
Mm.
you know, like all these ideas we have about like things like, you know, when I said going to a new country, I already have ideas about what it's like, and my ideas about what it's like will color my perceptions and my experience there. So when I come back, I usually am like, oh yeah, everything I believed is absolutely true, even though it's
Hmm.
not, but like, you know, I've just convinced myself of it. And in the same way, like our understanding, not just of places we haven't been, but of times we haven't been. So like, you know, when you look, when Americans, for example, look at our own national history, we have a very skewed impression of what it is. And in fact, we don't really have a lot of, you know, and it's interesting how very quickly that can happen. Like in a
Yes.
generation or two, all the knowledge of what something was like is gone. Everyone who actually experienced is gone, and all that's left is this kind of this very heightened reality stereotype in, you know, like even now, like I could, what is, you know, if we're talking about what were the 1950s like, you know, there's still people who remember that. You talk about what were the
Mm.
40s like, there's still a few people maybe, but if we're going to talk about the 1930s, there's no one left. And you
For
know,
sure.
so, and the further back you go, the less we actually, the more um the more exaggerated the caricature becomes of what it is,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
that's really the only memory we have. And so for all intents and purposes, that becomes the reality of that era for
Mhm.
us. Anyway, I don't know, that's getting very like that's getting very like, man, it makes you think, man. But like
We should have done
but
this
that
later on or earlier for your time, mate. um, I mean, yeah, I was listening to someone talking about the Odyssey the other day, and then they sort of took us back to the Wolfgang Peterson Troy from
oh yeah.
2005. And they were talking about how Wolfgang Peterson decided that things weren't epic enough in the actual historical Troy. So he just scaled everything up so that we felt like it
Yep.
was more of an Egyptian culture, that and that becomes that memory of what you know what we're dealing with here historically, is like, you know, filtering that through your popular culture and then sort of
Yep.
having that variation happening. Yeah.
Exactly.
um
Exactly.
so part of the plot of the plot of the book is that Greg's there to help the mayor out with a mysterious technological innovation.
Mhm.
And I guess this ties into what we're talking about in terms of data centers as well. um So I guess AI bad or really fucking bad? And how
God.
did you? When did you decide to slide that into the plot in terms of, like, I don't know if it's a spoiler or not, but sort of, I guess,
Yeah, yeah.
digitalizing the sort of round robin threat into something that could then be sort of virally spread, I guess.
Yeah, so that it kind of ties in with like a little bit what I was saying about like
Yes,
okay, so this is going to get like a little in the reeds, I think, but like
bring it
bear with
on.
me. Bear with me.
Yep, do it.
So that was actually a fairly late addition in the book. I'll admit this. Like a lot of the earlier drafts of the book, it is never really. I never said what Greg is working on. I left that as, you know, like it doesn't matter what he's working on. It's an excuse to get them to the island. Who cares? But then at the last, kind of in what some of the later drafts, it suddenly kind of hit me
Mhm.
because I was thinking a lot about AI. As a writer, you know, it's kind of in the zeitgeist, right? It's a
For
thing
sure.
we think about a lot.
Yep.
And I was really thinking about it because I do a little bit of dabbling in ritual magic, you know. And an interesting thing about ritual magic is when you're trying to when you do it, you know, you are trying to um, you're trying to I'm trying, how do I explain this? Uh Connect with the universe in a way,
Mhm.
right? You want to you're putting something out into the universe and you want to get an answer back in some way.
Yep.
And a big part of it's this idea of like whether you're trying to commune with, you know, spirits or the cosmos or angels or whatever you want to call it, the idea that the universe is not just an unfeeling chaos, but there is something out there that can answer you. And so much magic is really trying to tap into that and to really feel like that magic is real. So we have all these different ways of doing that. Like, for example, if you're doing like tarot cards, you move the tarot cards, but like you're looking for meaning in the cards and hoping
Absolutely.
that like, that that the universe is somehow communicating through the cards or anything you do. Now, of course, there's always the problem that like everything you do that way, it's really just you interpreting something. You're looking at a perfectly natural phenomenon and saying like, no, I think the universe is communicating through that.
Yes.
So the idea of round robin and digitizing it was really the idea that this is what they're trying to do, is take out that human part. They're trying to make it so the universe is answering, and we don't need that human interpretation anymore. And so that's basically going to give us a definitive answer. We don't have that ambiguity that you always have, like in any time when, anytime you do magic, anytime you read a tarot card, anytime you pray, are you actually getting an answer or are you just imagining it? And they're trying to take out that ambiguity so that they know they are getting an answer. They know they are dealing with an actual being from the other side. That was kind of part of that. And so when AI first started, when we first started getting AI, I was kind of fascinated with it from the perspective of ritual magic, because I realized what some people were doing was they would put like they'd ask the AI like ChatGPT, and it would give them an answer. And I was like, this is interesting. It's actually kind of a form of automatic writing, because even though you are talking to a computer, it feels like the universe is something is giving you an answer. It feels like it's like a magic 8-ball almost, or tarot cards or whatever. It feels like you're getting some sort of answer. And I was like, this is kind of an interesting thing to look at from that perspective. And I can see it. If you are a ritual magician, this is kind of a thing that I could see people getting some use out of. This was one of my initial thoughts before I really gave it as I have given it more thought and seen more, my ideas on the usefulness of AI for any reason have soured a lot.
Absolutely. Yep.
But in that same vein, I actually started thinking, and I was like, okay, because I know people who use it for everything. And I started to realize, like, it's interesting because basically what you're doing with AI is you are communicating to something that is, for lack of a better description, an alien intelligence. I know intelligence kind of loaded there, but like you're communicating something that does not think like a human. It doesn't have any sort of human morals or ethics or thought processes. It's totally
It's a spreadsheet. It's a spreadsheet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you're talking to it, and it is giving you the answers it thinks you want to hear, and kind of trying to drive you insane almost, because and you are also you have to try to trick it to do what you want it to do. Because people put in a prompt, gives you the wrong thing, refine the prompt. So you're tricking it to find the right words to trick it to do something, while it is trying to drive you insane the entire time. Because if you've talked to someone who uses a lot of AI, they start to think a little weird. They start to get a little disordered thoughts. And so the more I thought, I realized, like, oh, this is very much like probably the way that a medieval necromancer would describe talking to a demon. You summon something up and you're trying to trick it to do what you want while it is trying to destroy you. And I'm not saying that AI is literally demonic, but that parallel was really fascinating to me. So that's kind of why, when I actually did start kind of got on the idea that they are trying to do something with AI, or to create something using that idea of the alien intelligence that is akin to a demon. It fulfills, for all intents and purposes, it's in the same niche in the human imagination that a demon would be. And so and also I just hate it, and it sucks and is very annoying, because everything I do now, people are just like, why don't you get the AI to do that? And it's like, well, I have a friend who's always like, I'm working on a new book, and he says to me, well, why don't you get the AI to do that? And it's kind of like, well, why don't I get the AI to fuck my wife too? I don't, jeez, I'm sorry, not to be uncouth.
Get Optimist. I mean, I actually, I like to have ordered thoughts, and I like to be able to create things from, whole cloth, and be able to actually like maintain a sort of basic line of cognition where, I can interact with the world without a crutch. Yeah.
Exactly. It's one of those things like my brain is already fucked up enough. I don't need to offload even more cognition. I mean, I barely can think as it is. So,
I was going to say one of the most heartbreaking things I think I've seen on the internet in the last couple of days is Jeff Bridges showing off his chat bot to Theo Von.
Oh no, I missed this. This sounds
looping
terrible.
Back to the Stephen King boomer brain. That was sort of fundamental betrayal of one of my childhood heroes.
The boomers love it. It's actually it's kind of weird. I mean, I think like we are living in a weird time where, for many reasons, I think everyone has to some degree kind of reached this point of like, fuck it, who gives a shit? Especially like, I don't know what the vibe is like in New Zealand, but like in America, it's gotten to the point where like, it's like, okay, look, everyone in charge of everything is a scam artist, and and fish rots from the head. So I see this all the time. I see it with, like, unfortunately with everyone, a lot of young people, but also more old people, unfortunately. And it is this idea of like, why should I be any better? What am I, a sucker? And that ties into, and unfortunately, like, AI is coming into fruition just as we are in this national moment of who gives a shit. And
I think it's global, and I think I read in the Guardian the other day there was a think piece about why is smoking coming back, and I think it's because it's generational nihilism. And it's like, who gives a fuck? Like,
it
what
really
else
is. It really is just kind of like that. And I mean, I don't want to be like a Debbie Downer, because at the same time, I think there are like a lot of people who have not lost the plot. There are a lot of people who are fighting for a better future. And I think that inevitably it will come at some point. That we're kind of in we're in the valley of the shadow of death right now. But I do think genuinely that we will get through this. But at this moment, one of the things that pisses me off is like a lot of I forget who it was. There was, I think Charles DeLint was basically the other day saying like, I'm using AI to write my books. And it's like, you're all these older writers who have like have a very prestigious, storied career, and they're just scuttling it. And it really makes me think it's just like, I know they're kind of maybe in the twilight of their careers, but they say that a society is great when old people plant like seeds that they will never see grow into trees. And I think that a lot of these older authors are just like, I'm old, who gives a shit? It's like, you just because you are, you, even if you are like in the waning years of your career, you're reaching the end, I feel like there is still some value in maintaining your dignity.
Absolutely. And Bob Dylan writing, Bob Dylan using AI apparently as well. So.
Oh my God, really? I can't believe so many people.
Why not? Yeah, I know it's really it's difficult to comprehend. I mean, it's such a obvious, we've been through crypto, we've been through NFTs, we've been through so many of these.
It's like we
bubble
saw it
pumping.
God.
It's just bonkers. Anyway, I better move on.
Sorry. Yeah.
No, that's fine. No, I could talk about this with you for years, probably. Better wrap it up, I guess. I wanted to know what you've got coming up after this one.
Oh,
once
geez.
You've done
Sure. So, I've got a few interesting things. Everyone should, of course, check out Quaint Folk. That's going to be out in October 6th. And also coming up soon, I've got a couple novellas. I have a novella called Monoceros, which is coming out from Rochambeau. It's part of the New Bizarro author series. And, I'm really excited about this because it's basically, the New Bizarro Author series is it's kind of a way to find new untested Bizarro writers, and Bizarro being kind of a subgenre of like sci-fi horror that is hard to define, but the big thing about it is it's weird. And so this is a real cool one because it's going to be some real up and coming writers in it, and me. But you know, it's got A.E. Hoffnell's, I think, A Pox Upon the Heart, which is a great story about the Grim Reapers going on strike. It's got Johnny Gensler's Brick Built Dad, which is about a dad who tries to rebuild his dead son from Legos. It's got PJ Brenahan's Joy Machine, which is about like a machine that sucks out your joy and sells it to millionaires. And most importantly, me, I've got, I said Monoceros, which is a story about a guy who turns out to actually be a unicorn. He didn't even know it, but he was actually a unicorn the whole time. And now he's being hunted by all the 12-year-old girls in the world because they want to have him on a Lisa Frank folder. So I'm real excited about that. And also I am working on another novella with Eve Harms, who is the writer behind Transmuted and Chasers.
Yes.
And this book is called Jerk Off the Horse, but only for legitimate animal husbandry purposes, you sick bastard.
Perfect.
Novella on craft. And it is it's going to be about it's about a guy who's writing it's a novella on craft about how to write, but it's also about a guy who is it's written by a fictional author, Gary Butcher, a esteemed writer of horse paranormal mystery, and he's slowly losing his mind over the course of this book, which culminates in jerking off a horse, but for legitimate animal husbandry purposes. It's like Stephen King's On Writing, except if Stephen King like kind of just like lost it halfway through. Earlier, you know. So those are things. I'm also working on a new novel, which is not titled, but I will say that it is about it's a Gothic story involving a deep dark forest, a big spooky castle, and puppets. It's going to be all about puppets.
Oh my God.
I'm very excited. I am so excited because I am really excited to be pioneering puppet horror. We're bringing it back. I think it's been bring it back. It's been too long since we really had like, you know, scary puppets in things.
Absolutely.
You know, like I don't even know if Thomas Ligotti's writing puppet stories anymore. So I'm gonna show him how it's done. We're gonna have more puppets. So yeah, exciting things.
It's very exciting.
Everyone can check it out.
And where can people find you on the interwebs and all that?
Yeah, so I can be found at my website, www.bitterkarella.com. I'm also Bitter Karella on Instagram, Blue Sky, Patreon, Tumblr. Those are all the websites that still exist, I think. And
Tumblr, yeah.
You remember, everyone remembers Tumblr, right?
I remember Tumblr,
yeah, that's where all the cool kids were.
Coolest kids, yeah. It was the best for a while,
then they banned porn and everyone left.
Just disappeared.
So and now they want to ban porn from the whole internet. So I guess we're not really going to be online anymore. We're all just going to have to go and play outside. You know. Yeah,
I mean, what's the use in that? I mean, they've done because they're doing photo IDs, aren't they, in the UK?
Oh my God. That I think, they would just want to do photo IDs for everything. And oh my God, I just
boggles the mind. Anyway, I really appreciate your time, Bitter. Yeah. So good to talk to you. And the book's coming out October 6th, did you say?
That's correct, yes.
Okay,
so
cool. All right.
Look for it wherever books are sold, I guess. But yeah, thanks so much for having me.